November 18, 1952. High above the cold, unforgiving waters of the Sea of Japan, a single U.S. Navy jet fighter flies straight into history. It carries no escort, no numerical advantage, and no margin for error. What it carries instead is something far more powerful: the confidence of a nation that had defeated fascism, mastered the skies, and reshaped modern warfare in less than a decade. On that morning, the American flag was not flying from a mast or a carrier deck. It was carved into the wings of a Grumman F9F Panther, advancing alone toward a confrontation so dangerous that, if revealed at the time, it could have ignited a global nuclear war. The Grumman F9F Panther was not the fastest jet in the world, nor the most advanced, nor the most feared on enemy briefing boards. It was, however, the first jet fighter in U.S. Navy history to enter real air-to-air combat. In Grumman's first jet aircraft, a machine born from post-war American ingenuity. Built for carrier operations in rough seas, the Panther was rugged, reliable, and brutally honest in its design. Armed with four 20mm cannons, incapable of absorbing punishment that would tear lighter aircraft apart, it represented something no performance chart could capture: doctrine, discipline, and pilot training. Yet over Korea, it faced an enemy that was superior on paper in almost every measurable way: the Soviet MiG-15, faster, more powerful, and dominant in vertical combat. By every statistical model, the Panther was not supposed to survive. That morning, 4 Panthers launched from the aircraft carrier USS Oriskany on a combat air patrol near the North Korean border. Minutes later, mechanical trouble forced the flight leader and his wingman to turn back. Only 2 aircraft remained. One was flown by Lieutenant Royce Williams, the other by his wingman, Lieutenant Dave Rowlands. Then the radio crackled with urgency: 7 high-speed contacts approaching. The order from Naval Command was short and absolute: protect the carrier group at all costs. In that instant, 2 American pilots became the only shield between an entire U.S. task force and an unknown enemy force closing fast. What Williams did not yet know was that these aircraft were not North Korean. More than 100 kilometers away, at a Soviet base near Vladivostok, radar operators had detected the American patrol. The fighters scrambling to intercept were not allies nor proxies. They were MiG-15s of Soviet naval aviation, flown by experienced pilots and led by Captain Nikolai Belyakov. Officially, the United States and the Soviet Union were not at war. In reality, that sky was about to test how thin that illusion truly was. The jets met above the cloud layer, and the battle erupted instantly. The MiGs dove with terrifying speed, their 23 and 37mm cannons tearing through the air. Tracer rounds streaked past Williams' canopy as impacts slammed into his Panther's fuselage. The fight exploded into violent turns, near vertical climbs, and deadly head-on passes. The MiG-15 had every advantage in raw performance, but Williams fought with precision, discipline, and complete mastery of his aircraft. One MiG fell, then another, then another. What should have been a swift Soviet ambush turned into something unthinkable: a lone American pilot holding the line against 6 enemy jets, refusing to surrender a single piece of sky. For more than 30 minutes, the battle raged without pause. Williams attacked when openings appeared, evaded when necessary, and survived where a single mistake meant death. At one point, he noticed the markings on the enemy wings: red stars of the Soviet Union. Almost simultaneously, a frantic message arrived from American intelligence, warning that this engagement could trigger World War III. Williams' response was calm and final. He was already engaged. There was no retreat. Pulling back meant exposing the fleet. Pressing on meant facing a nuclear superpower alone. By the end of the fight, Williams's Panther was barely holding together. A 37-millimeter shell tore through the wing, destroying the hydraulic systems and leaving the aircraft on the edge of total loss of control. He struggled to keep the jet flying as a MiG remained on his tail. He was out of ammunition, out of options. Then through the clouds, his wingman appeared like an apparition, firing on the pursuing MiG and driving it away. Against every expectation, Williams had survived. HT. The danger was not over. The damaged Panther could not fly below 315 kilometers per hour. Far too fast for a carrier landing. Ejection was not an option. The freezing sea below would kill him in minutes. The solution demanded audacity equal to the battle itself. The captain of the USS Oriskany ordered the carrier to turn and align with the crippled aircraft. The ship moved to meet the plane, not the other way around. Williams touched down at more than 320 kilometers per hour. The third arresting cable caught. The jet stopped. Silence fell across the deck. Inspection revealed the full cost of the battle. 263 holes torn through the Panther's airframe. The aircraft was beyond repair and was pushed overboard. The incident was erased from public record. Gun camera footage was edited. Soviet insignia were removed. Reports were rewritten. The truth was buried because the world was not ready to know how close it had come to catastrophe. Royce Williams received a quiet decoration and kept silent for 50 years. Decades later, Soviet archives confirmed the impossible. 4 MiG-15s had been lost. 4 Soviet pilots had died in that sky. In 2022, the United States finally acknowledged the scale of Williams' achievement, upgrading his award to the Navy Cross. Today, at 100 years old, Royce Williams is still alive. And that morning in November stands as a silent reminder of what has always defined American air combat at its best. It was not superior numbers, not superior technology, and not luck that prevailed. It was a pilot, an aircraft, and an unbreakable refusal to yield.